we're getting, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, the original female Captain Marvel, Spectrum or Spectre, whatever she's calling herself. And I brought this up on my Instagram the other day, and I had an interesting response that I kind of wanted to address here. Right, so I was like, all I'm hearing about is DC doing Black Superman when they can't give us a good Kal-El. And with this Marvel's movie, Captain Marvel 2, I was like, Marvel, can y'all show them how to do it and give us Blue Marvel? He's a Marvel, right? He's dating Spectrum or Monica Rambeau, right? So I had this response. It's like, Marvel couldn't even give us a good Monica Rambeau. I'd hate to see how they crap on Adam Brashear. That's Blue Marvel. Warner Brothers could make Icon, Hardware, Steel. Nobody wants to see Steel after that Shaq movie. Blood Wind, Black Lightning. We've already got Black Lightning on the WB shows. Icon is another Black Superman. Mr. Terrific, instead, Mr. Terrific was on, you talking about the dude who was on Arrow. But instead they want to be woke so much because they know that normies will flock to it. Then if a white person doesn't like it, people will say they're evil. And so I didn't really dig into all of this because I'm like, you're kind of sound like bullshit at this point. If you got to start talking about people want to be woke, you don't know what their intentions are when they're doing this stuff. So I'm like, the minute you go there, it like totally invalidates whatever you're going to say. Right. I was like, but this guy seems to know a lot about comic books. And I'm like, well, there is a Black Superman. So I'm just saying, like, you're going to give us a different version of Kal-El or, Val-Zod, but you can't fix Henry Cavill's Superman. It's really what I'm saying. And it's talking about being woke. And I'm like, no, I mean, if they want to say, hey, we're going to do a different spin on the character, they're already doing that. Then it, a Latina who's playing Supergirl. So Kara is not a white girl with blonde hair and blue eyes now. So they're doing something, and they're like, yo man, we don't want Kryptonians to all just be white people, especially after they had like some guy who's like a breakout in whatever he's doing now, but he auditioned for the part in that Krypton series about Kal-El's grandfather, and they're like, no, he can't be black. Like, he can. Jor-El's mixed, light skinned, it can be black, but it's like, no, can't be black. Right. When people start saying this stuff, I'm like, you don't know what the people behind this are thinking. And when I say, I'm just raising the question, right? If I post it on Instagram, it's really not that serious, right? I'm literally trying to get engagement on Instagram, right? Because if you reply to some stupid comic book stuff that doesn't make sense, then when I post something fitness related, you're going to see that post. That's my Instagram game right there, right? It's like, I'm breaking up the monotony, fitness. Oh, here's some Star Wars superhero comic book geeky stuff for you to see. And maybe you'll keep responding and say, let me see what Prince is posting. And oh, here's Prince doing handstands. Here's, some fitness tip. Here's a nutrition tip. That's literally my Instagram game. But this dude decided to go there. And I just wanted to unpack, like, you're like, they couldn't give us a good Monica Rambeau. And I'm like, yo, man, Monica Rambeau was introduced as a little girl. Did we see her again as a grown woman after the snap? She's not the main character in anything. She's a supporting character, and she's there literally to support the main character. And it's always she's coming as like sisterhood. right? Now, not necessarily in Captain Marvel, right? Because she's a little girl, and Carol is like her play aunt, whatever, right? But it's like she looks up to Carol, right? She's got all Carol's stuff, and she's like, I want to grow up. I want to go up there and be just like you, Auntie Carol, right? This dude had a problem with it though. It was like, because I was like, what were you expecting them to do with her character? She's coming to Wanda as a friend, as a sister, right? To me, that shows a strength in that character. That, yo, man, we know that she's going to become very powerful, right? Like, I was reading about a crossover event, and Spectrum, Monica beats the Green Lantern. She figures out the energy signature of the Lantern ring, and I think it was I started to say Kyle Katarn because I got Star Wars. Kyle Rayner. I think it was Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. Right? She figured out the energy signal of a signature because she can, you know, replicate any energy signature, you know, once she understands it. And so she basically gave herself Green Lantern powers and beat the brakes off of Kyle Rayner. Right? I wish it was Guy Gardner, just because, I don't know, I just like the idea of her beating the shit out of Guy Gardner, right? So, powerful character, right? You think about how powerful a Lantern ring is supposed to be in DC, and she's like, I got that. That ring, I got that. I got you, right? But he's like, well, I wasn't expecting her to look up to Carol for one. Expecting, but you don't know what the story is going to be, so why would you go in expecting anything? That's cringe to me, because Carol and Monica have always been contemporaries as opposed to this weird auntie niece thing. That's in the comics. It's not the MCU. Different. You're going in with expectations. Add to that Captain America named her leader of the Avengers. I was expecting them to keep at least some of her story intact. Why isn't her dad around? The zany parts around how she got her powers with her being a rogue cop is Beverly Hills Cop-like. What? See, you're looking. So my comment was, something amazing happens when you lose expectation. There was no response to that. I expected there not to be, because this dude is set on the same thing that I see all these geeks doing. This is the story that I want, and if that doesn't happen, it doesn't meet my expectations. Therefore, it sucks. And it's like, maybe there's something bigger coming. And so if they did it the way you wanted it to happen, then it's not going to play out the way it's been planned to happen, right? You know, they could have made Monica her mother, right? And not had little girl Monica. It's like, oh, but then it's like, all right, well, this stuff happened in the 90s. So, you know, if we give her powers when Carol gets hers, where has she been this whole, oh, well, you make her a Kree, or you connect her to Kree. Okay, well, you did that. Now you completely changed the character, right? Problem is that you created this character just to keep the name Captain Marvel. Well, if you introduce Carol as Captain Marvel off the top, then you got to change the origin of Monica Rambeau. And if you connect all of them and they've got some connection to Infinity Gems, right? Then if there's some big cosmic event that happens, then you can fall back on, that's the reason that these people are powerful enough to deal with this threat, where it's, you know, Carol, Monica, Wanda, whoever else is out there, maybe Adam Warlock at some point later on down the line. Right? We don't know. We really don't know right now, right? But getting back to the question about having a black character that's super powerful, that black people can get behind and white audiences, I think that Monica could be one of those characters. Now, I would love them to bring Adam Brashear, but he's part of her story too. They date in the comic books, right? And so if we're doing the Marvels, I think that would be a good place to introduce him, right? And they'd have to change his story you know, because they probably change the story around. Hopefully they wouldn't make him weaker, depower him, whatever, you know, like the Netflix shows did with some characters like Jessica Jones. But I would like to see Adam Brashear somehow come into the story in this Marvel show.